Well, good evening. Welcome to Equip Institute and the Personal and Purposeful Productivity Show. My name is Florence Donald. I'm so glad that you're with us tonight. We have a fantastic show for you because we're going to be wrapping up Power Planning Month. Last month we spent some time talking about planning from all kind of avenues, from being a retail leader, a podcaster, what to do in your branding and marketing when you are a live streamer, what to do, or any kind of creative. Tonight the champs are back. Three of the four horsemen are with us, and I'm so excited to have them. But before we get started, I want to do a little promo and let you know what's coming up the rest of the month, and then we're going to get you some information about our guest today. So, this is about this coming, today is Planning Roundtable. And I said I have three guests. I'm going to get them on, but I want to tell you a little bit about them just in case you don't know who they are. We have a gentleman here who is a seasoned business leader with over 25 years in executive retail leadership. That's a lot of experience, y'all, just in case you didn't know. His career is focused on assisting podcasters and leaders to find their unique voice and understand how it fit in their culture to advance their podcast and their career. He started podcasting in 2007 with the podcast of By Husbands and For Husbands for those husbands who were business leaders, podcasters, and family men to balance work and family. And from there, that he has grown. And I'm just really excited to say he has come into my inner circle. I told him when I met him and the last time we talked, he can't get rid of me. He's stuck with me now. So there's it. We have none other than the fabulous Mr. Steve Worthy with us. So he's going to be sharing all about leadership and finding your voice with us tonight. Then we have the man who pushed me out here and who has me doing this thing, Mr. Walter Strong, who's an online coach, a live stream producer, one of the best mentors you could ever have in this business of live streaming. And he helps content creators broaden their reach, their impact, and their income through online video. The third guest we have is my brother, who you all know, but I'm going to give him his props because he definitely deserves them. Joshua Ewell. He is a multifaceted creative, from branding to marketing to public relations. He has worked with a lot of A-listers. He's also a published author. But for me, he's my brother, and he's also the creative designer for Equip Institute. So with that, I'm going to bring these gentlemen on and let them tell you more about who they are. I want to welcome these gentlemen to the show tonight. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to turn it over to you and let you just say whatever it is you'd like to share with the audience this evening.
Cool. Joshua, you go first.
Oh man, why me going first? All right. So all right, so my name is Joshua Ewell. As you guys know, my background is marketing, public relations, branding. Currently, I am an organization development manager for several nonprofits out of DC. My goal is to bring God's word to the people, but never neglect his finances. So that's what I do and how I do it. I'm excited to be here this evening with two amazing individuals who I've been able to watch from the sidelines. So it's actually an honor to be on this stage with Mr. Worthy and Mr. Strong. So thank you for having me, Florence.
Awesome,
Wisdom
awesome.
before you, Steve. So you can go next.
Wisdom.
They cutting up already, y'all. They cutting up
I'm
already.
gonna say
I'm gonna just let them go though.
he's starting already, man. We ain't even. This is minute two. We in minute two, man. Hey, hello everybody. I'm Steve Worthy, man. I'm excited to be here tonight. I really am. Just to be able to share, with you about leadership, or whatever other questions that you may have, tonight. I think, myself, along with the two other gentlemen, we are here to serve. We're here to serve the community and help you with whatever it is that you need, whether it's content creation, perspective, mindset, whatever it is, to get you from where you are to where you want to be. So we are here to serve tonight and just and be of service. So I'm happy to be here tonight.
All right.
Go ahead, young whippersnapper.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm Walter Strong. I'm an online coach, live stream producer, the Huddle, a host of the Huddle, where we helping you broaden your reach, your impact, and online video through impact. I'm so grateful to be back on the Equip Institute live stream show with two strong Black men, content creators. I believe we as individuals, when we look on the shoulders that we're standing on, we're coming from the days of black and white TV with the hanger and using the what was the pliers to turn the knob, to now being live on camera, live streaming on YouTube. And so that says a lot about the gifts and the talents that is on screen right now. So I'm truly honored. And so if you're just tuning in, you're part of the team live, I need you to hit that like button. I need you to share this live stream, because this is going to be a good roundtable discussion.
All right. Well, they have started. I want everyone to relax. We've got some folks in the building with us this evening. I'm going to start with some of what I call my family, and we're going to start with Roy from Tech Troublemaker here. He's saying, "Hey everyone, glad to have you in the house." Roy, so glad to have you here with us. We also have with us a young lady that we're going to learn more about next week, Miss Leona Dooley, who, if you haven't watched her show, you need to, especially if you're a home cook, but she's going to tell you how to do it right as a home cook and taking care of your home with our other guests next week. And also, we have in the building with us none other than my best friend in the world, Frank Jackson, who is also one of our moderators. And believe it or not, y'all, see, I told y'all they cutting up, but Mr. Worthy over here is out here in the chat with y'all. So great, fantastic.
That's right.
Fantastic. Thank you. Some folks here who are not in chat, who are just watching, and you may be feeding family or studying or whatever. Glad you're here. Welcome to the live tribe. We're so excited to have you. I don't have Josh in the chat reminding me that the live tribe is here, but thank you for being a part of this community. So we're going to get right into it, and I'm going to start asking them questions because I want them to just go to town on these questions and share. But before I ask the first question, I'm going to ask you all who are in chat to ask your questions, but please put a Q colon in front of them so it'll help me find them and I can make sure that I get our guests to answer your questions right away. So we're going to go to question number one, and I'm going to start out with something that we all have the same amount of, and that's 24 hours in a day, 1,440 minutes. No matter what you do, who you are, how much you have or how little you have the same amount of time as every other human. So as business leaders, as creators, as fathers, uncles, sister, brothers, to annoying sisters, just saying, what are some strategies that you use to manage your time in the day? And I'm going to also say not only what you do, but what are some strategies you can suggest to others who have very full lives just like you do? I'm going to start with Mr. Worthy.
Oh, dude, I knew you were going to come to me, and I will probably definitely have the worst answer. One of the things that, for me, I think it all depends on kind of really how you're built. What I mean by that is, when are you, I guess, the most productive? I think you have to think about it. First of all, for me, at least, I think about it in that context. In the evening, I am not I am not productive. Um, I am not creating content. I am not um I'm probably checking emails. I'm probably, just doing different things, but I know that early morning, just being old military, is my most productive time. And so I've when I lean into that, getting up early, having some quiet time, and then getting to work and getting a whole bunch of stuff done, is part of my, I guess, my journey is understanding a little bit more about my strength and when I'm kind of the most active. You know, Also, I mean, a very simple to-do list, right? One of the things that I don't have it on my desk here. I have it on my desk downstairs. Is really simple. Monthly goals, things that I want to do, and then I break those down into weekly goals, and then I break them down into daily goals. And it's very, very simple. I try my best to keep everything simple. Um, from just a planning standpoint, I think if we start to add too many things to the equation, then we start to become less productive and we start to lean too much, whether it's like, on the gear or the new tech, instead of focusing in on what we need to get done. We start adding so much stuff and we think that we're productive, and we're really just being active, and activities doesn't actually they don't necessarily doesn't necessarily equate to productivity. And so understanding how you're built, when you're going to be the most productive, and trying to your best to try to maximize your time within those times of productivity, and then keep it simple from a list structure standpoint. And then I'm a check person. I like to check stuff off, and so if I check it off, then I know it's done. But like I said, I was going to have the worst answer for this one, so I hope I know these guys have better ones than I do.
Okay, who's gonna jump in?
All right, we'll see. We'll say the best for last, which will be Joshua. I would definitely just build upon what Steve said in terms of finding out what your most productive time is, especially from my perspective, where you're a full time employee working for a corporation. I'm also a family person who has a husband. Oh my Lord, forgive me, a
Okay,
wife and a daughter. A wife. We're gonna edit that, right?
there you go, man.
Definitely. A
No,
wife and a daughter,
wife gonna
and
get in trouble. You gonna get in trouble with your wife, man.
it's all good. Just bring some more flowers, and then also, having a relationship with God, and being in church, finding that most productive time for me, where I'm keeping all those things in order and I'm balancing them, not juggling them, but balancing them. Because I tend to think when you're juggling some, and if you're not an expert juggler, you're doing your best to try to keep everything in the air before everything falls. But when you're balancing those things and you found the most productive time, you can be able to be productive. And then, as Steve said, having a to-do list. When you have that most productive time, taking that to-do list and say, okay, for as a content creator, this is my time to work on my content ideas, or this is the time for me to start working on my thumbnails, or this is the time for me to start putting the presentation together for my next live stream show or podcast. And I think if you do that, you will definitely put yourself in a win-win and add value to your viewers.
Good
Good
job.
stuff.
So I will say this. What I'm going to do is just add to what these two amazing men have said. Nothing new. For me, I'm big on execution. So I'm a creative. I am a creative for other people. So I have to think like them, feel like them, be in the mood to work for them, right? So for me, I
Mm,
execute by my day. So what do I feel as though for me, what I will accomplish and execute to the highest quality today? That's what I focus
mhm,
on first. So that's how I'm old school. I do the to-do list. I'm old school to, even though I have every type of iPad, computer, whatever, probably in my space right now, I
Mhm.
write old. I'm a paper pen kind of
there you go.
person.
That's what
Because
I'm
here's the thing.
saying.
Here's the thing. I was always raised to believe. I would rather trust a short pen to a long mind any day, right? And there's also a connection when you write down the things you want to accomplish. There's a connection between the
Yes.
paper, the pen, and there's agreement. I'm agreeing that I'm going to hold myself accountable and do these things today. It's in my handwriting. No one writes like Joshua
Yes.
but Joshua, right? So it
Mhm.
it requires me to be accountable to myself, to my clients. It requires me to make sure that I check my to-do list several times throughout the day. I give myself space to add items. I give myself space to
Mm,
take things off. And for me, if I'm not going to execute it the way that my clients and my friends know that I will, I just won't touch it.
mm.
Mhm.
There's a to add to kind of the discussion around just your day. There's a thing. It's called the Pareto principles, the 80-20 rule. And we used to use it a lot in retail and business, where 20% of what you do actually gives you 80% of your return. And if you think about it from a list standpoint, where you have 10 things, really 20%, 20 to 30% on that list is really going to give you the should give you the you should focus on that's going to give you the biggest return on your investment. Because I think the tendency is that we go 80-20 and we focus in on some of the activities, and that's only giving us around 20% of our return. And so I also think about getting the hardest thing out of the way first,
Mhm.
on that list. Because if you have a list of 5 things and the other 4 are kind of easy, guess what? We're going to take the least path of resistance and start to talk to go after those. If you rock out the first thing, the hardest thing first, then the other one should actually kind of come into make your life a little easier. And then something else that Cher put in the comment, I just recently started doing it again. I did it in college, but it's that Pomodoro kind of style of studying, where you take certain blocks of time, whether it's 45 minutes, and you can use your clock on your phone, and you just focus in for 45 minutes, cut everything else out, and just try to crush whatever it is that you need to do in that time frame. It's really just focused learning and focused activity, but
Mhm.
doing something like that, I found to be extremely productive. I don't do it all the time. I did a lot of it last year. I'm going to start doing it again, but it's just something that when you just put the block of time and focus in, man, you will accomplish so much in that time frame.
Mhm.
Great. Well,
Mhm.
we got some folks in the building here, and we definitely want to recognize this gentleman, Mr. James Worthy. He is one of the four horsemen. These gentlemen are now named the four
Hilarious.
horsemen for me, and so I know he has a lot of wisdom, and y'all can do a little bit of callback
No, he
to
don't.
some of the stuff.
No, he
Yes,
don't. He don't
don't
got no
mess with my
wisdom.
friend.
He don't
Oh,
got
get
no. He
you.
he don't got
Get
no.
you. Yes, he
James don't.
does.
If he had
But thank
wisdom,
you
he
so
would
much
be
for
here.
being in the
I
building.
and I ain't nobody thinking about James Hicks.
Okay. Next question.
See,
You know
you see
what?
what happened when you get four strong black men together. You see this. See,
Hey,
this is
Mhm.
this
the four
this is how we
horsemen.
get along. This is
Mhm.
camaraderie right here.
The
This is
four
right.
horsemen. And
James
then
who?
we
James
have,
Hicks who?
did you say James who?
I said
Yes, he
James Hicks
did.
who?
You know what?
Love my man.
I
Love my
did.
man.
I
Love my
know.
man.
Uh and then um Miss Shears is here in the building, and you may have to keep them straight, so I need some backup here. So good to see you, ma'am, in the building with us. And she said PM is her prime time. She's the evening. She's a night owl. I get it. I get it. And oh
Mhm.
my goodness, I have to acknowledge this gentleman. This is someone you all don't know, but I love him with all my heart. This is Dr. AK, who will at some point be a guest. He is just a really, really great person and a truly tremendous individual, talented individual. So welcome, AK, for joining us. And yes, he is true. He is an MD. So that's why I call
Mhm.
him Dr. AK.
Mhm.
So glad to
Nice.
have y'all in the building. So I want to go ahead and go in. If you want to go to the next question. I want to go to the next question. Actually, go back to that first question about strategy. Does anyone else have something you want to share in terms of strategy, managing your time? While I cut everybody off and went to the audience.
Yeah.
No. I go ahead, Josh.
No, I'm sorry. I'll add one thing. When it comes to developing your strategy, it's okay to plan, do review. Figure out what works for you. Take a lot of the suggestions. I'm telling you right now, Steve, Walter, myself, James, Florence, we're giving and have given some amazing tips, right? Figure out what works for you. Correct. Give it a few weeks. It says it's 21 days. It takes 21 days to make anything a habit, right? So try for 21 days. See how it works. Then review your executable. Review how it's working for you. Review if you're really getting things done. Are you focusing on that 20% that Steve talked about, or are you focusing on that 80% and you're not getting the results that you want? Always remember, no matter if you're implementing something new, revising something old, or taking advice from someone else, always implement, plan, do review.
Love that.
That's
Love
strong. Mr. Strong, you that's strong. Mr. Strong, you were about to share something with us.
No. I think Joshua's two examples that he's given definitely is very practical, and like we said, in terms of just finding that quality time that you can be able to say, this is my time, my moment. I have my time for my work. I have my time for the family. I have my time for church. I have my time for my my playtime. But this is my time to go ahead and create. And if you respect that time the same way that you would respect scheduling an appointment with an accountant, a doctor, or a lawyer, you will respect that same amount of time. It's not rocket science. It's not deep.
It may not be rocket science, but this is real science, y'all, that they're sharing with us, and some great takeaways already that we've gotten. So I'm going to move on to question number 2, and that is leveraging tools in tech as a creative person, and all of us are creative. Every human has a level of creativity in them, whether we want to admit it or not. And so leveraging tools in tech, and I'm gonna just want you all to talk about that, because everybody has something different, and the three of you are definitely in different creative spaces, a little bit of crossover, but definitely in 3 different ways. So would love to hear what you have to say about that. Who wants to go first? I'm gonna let y'all run this show.
I went first last time, so I'm going last.
Let's let the cool guy go, but I'll go let the youngster go.
Technically, you're the cool guy. Come on, Walter, you got this. Come on now.
When I think of tools, and this tool, sometimes can be overlooked by a lot of individuals when they first start out in content creation, and just trying to be productive in what you're trying to do in creating online video. And that's Google and in the Google ecosystem. When I first got into content creation, blogging, I was very ignorant to the fact of all the different tools that Google had, from Google Docs to Google Sheets to Google Drive, and how it worked, and how it can make your process in creating content, whether if it's blogging, now for me, online video. I was very ignorant to that. But then as I began to come across a gentleman named Steve Dotto from Dotto Tech, and he just spent a whole series on the Google ecosystem. It's a tool that I end up learning that, hey, look, I don't have to pay money or a subscription for, even though there's nothing wrong with that, especially if it's something you can upgrade over time. But if you're just starting out, the Google ecosystem and all of what Google has, now, you in this day and age where you have to virtually sometimes meet with a person you want to bring on to your show, where you want to do a discovery call, you don't necessarily have to go out and pay a subscription or an annual yearly payment to Zoom. You have Google Meets, and you can meet with your guest and kind of go over, the expectations for the show, and you don't have to pay anything. You just got to have a Google account, and they just have to have a Google account. And if they're on
Mhm.
YouTube, they already have one. So, taking advantage of free tools like that, that's going to help you to
Mhm.
grow as a content creator. That's my thoughts on that. But great question.
So I'll piggyback on that one. Find the tool that works the best for what you need to work for. It's so easy to say, hey, oh, my friend told me about this, my mentor told me about that. Great, that tool worked for them, right?
Mhm.
But if you're looking to, for example, right now I manage and I work with a few nonprofits out of DC. What they do is they have a base, then they have their membership, then they have their board. There are several different levels of communication going on, right? The services in which they've used before in the past work for one group. It worked for the person who was in that position several years ago. Moving forward, it hasn't worked, right? And the question that I asked was, why? The answer was, because it was here. Stop using or holding on to things that you're not going to execute or use to their full potential. We waste money on products. We waste computer space on products. We kill our computers downloading, uploading, removing all these different products and services. And the problem always is we're not capitalizing on how best to use them. So you look up and say it didn't work for me. No, you didn't know how to utilize it. So find
Correct.
products, find apps, find AI equipment, find AI software that works for your direct need. Not kind of, sort of, but directly what you need it for. Trust me, it's out there. And if it's not, I'm pretty sure someone on this call, someone that's part of the live tribe, or someone who's watching the replay has no problem helping you to create it. Why? Because what you don't see, create. And then the answer that you create, the problem that you solve for others, is the answer that will pay you for the rest of your life.
It's good stuff, man. Good stuff. With tools, there's so many out there, and you can go down so many different rabbit holes trying to figure out what's gonna work for you. I think even before the tools, you know, um, one of the things that I think the best tool, or at least the one I used, is the tool of being able to capture kind of your ideas. And that could be voicemail, or that could actually be, whether it's Apple Notes or whatever it is that you use. I think when we think about the tools, we have to think about, like, what are we going to use the tools for, and we need to have ideas and content first. And I think that a lot of times what we find is that a lot of people they fail to capture really good ideas, and not even just really good ideas, just ideas in general. And how are you capturing, your ideation? How are you capturing your brainstorming sessions? How are you capturing information that you could potentially utilize kind of, down the line? I love Notions. I went through every freaking, productivity tool that you can put out there. And I fell back to Notion just because it has an app. So if I'm at an airport or I'm doing something, I can quickly capture an idea. Or if I'm doing a walk or something, I can quickly capture an idea, and it's already there, and it's across all of my platforms. It's across, every computer that I use, whatever it is. And so it has simplified my life. So being able to capture kind of your ideas, um, thinking about tools or whatever it is, I always think about what can I use that's going to simplify my life to capture my thoughts that are going to lead to something else that's down the line first and foremost. At least that's how I think about from a tool standpoint, because there's so many things that we can talk about, man. That's a whole nother show too. Just
Okay,
tools.
y'all gonna make a show called the Four Horsemen. Keep it up. Keep it up. You're gonna make a show called the Four Horsemen, and I'm not gonna be nowhere around. Y'all just gonna take over.
Listen, as long as we can monetize that show, then I'll put that good old
Yeah,
branding
man.
hat back on for season 2.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah. And she keep dropping stuff in there, right? Cher keep dropping stuff in there that I keep forgetting to say, and which is cool
Exactly.
because
I'm
she
about
knows
to
me.
come to some
Uh,
of them. Because I just look, I was like,
and,
whoa,
and
she
that
is on
I'm telling you
it.
what,
She is on it.
that mind map, that mind map. I'm telling y'all right now. I'm telling y'all right now. If you haven't got on or tried a mind map, you need to, and it is one. I feel like it's one of the best ways to capture so much content and your structure, whether it's for your business or for your a course, for your for a video, whatever it is, like utilizing a mind map can really just get, I call it just a brain dump. It just gets all of those ideas out, and you can see it all in one big screen. Like, oh my gosh, it's like, this is, you remember that you remember, I think we're all of a certain age. You remember that commercial, this is drugs, you know, this is your brain on drugs.
On
You know,
drugs.
it was like that old, right? So you can, this is like, you can see, this is your drug, this is your brain on screen, right? And so I love mind mapping, and it's actually a tool I just kind of started back using, and I love it, that along with Notion. So thanks for sharing for putting that out there too. So it's a good one.
So Mr. Hicks said, "Eat that frog." He's talking to you, Steve. Who taught you that one?
Oh, me? No, I think he's talking to. I think Cher said that because eat that frog. That's just like, yo, you gotta do the hard thing first, right? And it's just an old phrase of like, eat that frog, man. Like, do what you do, the difficult thing first. Military, kind of taught us that too. Like, you can't, you can't get around doing what's hard. You just got to do it. You just got to figure out how to do it, and then everything else kind of falls into place.
So this was another great feedback, and I remember something about this gentleman. AK says it is behavioral science. So what you all are teaching and sharing is really scientific. And just a little bit about background. He actually, I was explaining to him one time kind of how I handle my journaling, and he went through this whole scientific medical explanation of what's happening in the human brain when you go through these processes. So it is behavioral science that he can talk to extremely well. So when you say it's not science, it apparently it really is science.
All right, you stand corrected.
It really is
Science.
But you know what, Florence, you make a good point. Let's stay right there for a second. Because here's the thing that I think as having James in the comments and the three other horsemen on the screen right now that we forget is that productivity planning, being intentional, having direction is not something that Black and African American men are taught growing up. It's not something that's in our DA for the average young Black man, right? So we do have to retrain how we think, how we produce, how we work, right? I did this for myself when I worked on my book. I spent about 10 months or so, right? Trying different projects. Florence can tell you, I was getting on her nerves. We were trying journals and books and this and that. Like, I would call her because she's my productivity queen, right? We would go to the store and I'm like, well, I like this about this, and I don't like this about this. And then what I realized is that she didn't understand what was going on in my head and why certain things were connecting with me and certain things weren't. So I had to put word to power and say these things are connected with me because, okay, then after I begin to say them, I begin to say, well, that doesn't sound right, or maybe I need to look into that, right? So for me, I was relying on that. I'm a creative. That's the way I think, and I do this. And I'm a creative. But what does creativity do? How can I take this creativity and hone that into something bigger and more? How can I create levels of income? How can I create levels of productivity? How can I begin to execute on that higher level, right? These are all questions I had to ask myself. And I realized something. A lot of the things that I was asking myself, the inside Joshua, the little guy that be in between my ears, he had no clue. So I had to seek out answers. I had to seek out mentorships. I had to seek out classes.
Yeah.
I don't know how many classes I've either stayed up for because they were free, or I paid for because I wanted to get the information, and then I had to challenge my brain to accept the information. It is behavioral science,
Mm.
because as Black men, we're not taught to put ourselves first. Where are we first? I think Walter,
Mm-mm.
you said it first, right? You a
Mhm.
father, you're a father, you're a son, you're a husband, you're all these other things before you're Walter, right?
Correct.
Who
Mm.
is
Correct.
Walter? Who is Steve? Who is Joshua? Who is
Yes.
James? Who is Frank? Right? Before we have any other identity that we have to rely on, we're relying on to be, who are we to ourselves? Right? So when
Yes.
we think about being productive, forget what the baby needs, forget what wifey needs, forget what my sister, my friends, and everybody, what does Joshua need, right? For me, what does
Mhm.
success at the end of the day look like? How do I scale my success in regards to what I want, what I'm currently doing, and where I'm looking to go, right? And these are things that I
Yeah.
had to teach myself. So there are times, as the creative that I am, I'm sitting up here looking at this book like this is a list of stuff I don't feel like doing. But
Mhm.
I promised myself certain things, right? So I have to be accountable to myself before I can be accountable to my clients, to my family, to my friends, or anyone else.
Yeah, man.
All right, I'm done.
We no, dude, that's fire. One of the things when we talk to clients around in leadership, um, one of the questions that they tend to ask sometimes, or that they infer is like, I want to be a leader, and like who should I lead first? And my first question, my answer is always the same: it's you. Like, you have to lead yourself first. Like, if no one's going to follow you. If you wouldn't even follow you, no one's going to follow you. And so to kind of talk to Joshua's point around like putting yourself first, I think a lot of times, especially when we are talking about content creation, I talked about this with I had a really good interview the other night, and was talking to the interviewee, and one of the things that we spoke heavily about was his faith, that a lot of times you don't necessarily see it when he's presenting in his videos on YouTube, but it plays a major role in who he is, and it just comes out on camera because it's foundational in who he is. And so I think the
Mhm.
tendency is that we don't take the time to understand who we are. Like, when we're dealing with coaching clients, whether it's leadership or it's podcasting, first thing we talk about is know yourself. Like, because the more you know yourself, the more you can say no. Because the tendency is that if we don't know ourselves, we're going to say yes to everything that kind of comes across our plate, and because we're going to think it's really good. But if we know ourselves, we know that, man, that opportunity right there sucks. It doesn't meet my core values. It doesn't meet what I
Mhm.
want to stand for. It doesn't meet what I want to give to my audience. And so the more you know yourself, you can say no, and the more crystal clear over time you becoming who you are in the messaging that you give to people. And that's where authority kind of comes into play, right? We want to talk about content
Mhm.
creation and um subscribers and all of that stuff. That stuff comes when you gain authority, and it only gain authority when you understand who you are over time.
Mhm.
That's good.
Mhm.
That's real good.
That's good. That's good. I have nothing to add to that. These two gentlemen basically dropped the mic on both of them. So for me to even try to pick up either mic would be a disservice to what we just said there.
So I'm going to encourage the audience to ask some questions. Again, ask your questions.
Hmm.
Don't oop, don't be a shy. Don't be shy. Don't not ask your questions. Ask your questions. They are giving. Put a Q colon. Write whatever your question is. It doesn't have to be perfect. They will answer. So while we're doing that, I'm going to go on to this one
Okay.
because we
Mm.
all well I won't put this on anybody else. I do it. I can get so distracted and won't remember what I was supposed to be doing. How do
Hmm.
you avoid distractions?
Mm.
How
Hmm.
what are your tips for avoiding distractions?
Well,
That's a
I
great
think
question. Go
number
ahead,
one,
Walt.
no, Number one, understand the biggest distraction that could be to anyone is your cell phone. You're going to get tons of emails, you're going to get tons of texts, you're going to get tons of notifications and messages. Understand where your primary distraction could be. For me, it's the cell phone. And so, as a result of understanding that, I make sure I don't, when I sign up to an app, I don't agree for every notification to be turned on to be telling me about who just liked me, who just followed me, or etc. Two, having a time and a place where if distractions do come in, how to address distractions. The greatest example that I've learned from the greatest man ever that walked this earth, who dealt with distractions, was Jesus Christ, because the Bible teaches over and over as he walked this earth as a man, he knew how to deal with distractions. His greatest way of dealing with distractions was always constantly talking to his father, constantly finding out what the father wanted him to do, to say, and anything that tried to be contrary to that, he identified as a distraction and he dealt with it. And so I think those have been two important things for me, understanding where my greatest distraction could be. Because this phone can be a distraction to someone driving behind the wheel. If you've ever seen the Allstate commercial, and I think the guy name is Mayhem, he's constantly trying to distract the person with the phone, and he's like, he's making all types of noise, and then he tries to even distract the person that's driving across from the other car. And he's, so your cell phone, and you're tying that to content creation. When you're on your computer, when you're on your laptop, when you're working on that run of show, silence that phone. I'm not saying turn it off, because if you have family, if you have other responsibilities, put it on silence. And if the thing keeps vibrating like that, then okay, maybe you need to kind of stop and see what it's about. But for all the other things, nah. Hey, if you're getting great value out of this Grace host, Florence, of what she is doing, putting on tonight with these two great guests of Joshua and Steve, if you haven't already, I need you to hit that like button. I need you to click that thumbs up and share this on your favorite social media platform.
Yes.
Yes.
So thank
you
Joshua. For that. What? Oh.
No, it's a go ahead, Joshua.
Okay.
No, you good, man.
All right. So I'm a little controversial when it comes to distractions. I don't believe in it, right? So here's why I don't believe in distractions. Because in the morning I have a routine. I pray. I do my black man's version of yoga. All right. I have a list of meditations and manifestations that I do in the morning. After I do that, I check my bank account. Right. After I do that, I turn my phone on do not disturb. If the money in my bank account does not equip to what I need or what I want to see, then putting my phone on D&D is a standard for my day. If my phone is not on do not disturb, then guess what? I made room for that distraction subconsciously, right? So whatever comes in, let it be my friend, my sister, my mom, whomever, texting, calling, a client, whatever, I left the door open for that, right? I left the room open for for someone else to take my attention from my goals. So for me, I don't believe in distractions. I believe in me being accountable to my day in my morning. Every morning, my phone goes on do not disturb, right? And just to make sure it stays that way, I work off two computers every single day. I have one set up that as soon as I touch a word, I touch pages, I touch Word, or I touch Gmail, it immediately puts my phone on do not disturb. So if I mess up and forget throughout my morning, because I wake up feeling like a black man with a black billionaire, my computer will remind me, you're not there yet. We're on D&D. We're not taking any, we're not working for anybody else. And I say that because distractions come all day long, right? If you have children, they're gonna want attention. If you have family, they're gonna need you. If you have a spouse, they're gonna want to say I love you or ask you for $10, right? There's always going to be something that can and will distract you if you look at it as a distraction. I just don't believe in distractions. I believe in giving space for people to do exactly what people are going to do. And what's that? People.
Okay.
Amen. And man, I was when Walter was Walter held up his phone, um, and then he of course mentioned our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I said, I wonder if Jesus is Team Apple or Team Android. Would he be? I don't know. This is a question that came up. I was thinking about that. I was like, I was wondering what phone would Jesus rock? Anyway, that's a question for you guys in the chat. I don't know, but distractions, man. Here's the so I'm gonna take this from a I'll take it from a content creator's kind of standpoint, if you will. Just here's the and also just almost kind of like a gear acquisition syndrome or gas, if you will, perspective. Because there are so many things that can become a distraction, whether it's when you are first starting down this content creation hole or excuse me journey, is that you can go into a rabbit hole of research and what we call studying YouTube, right? And you
Mhm.
start studying and studying all these YouTubers and all these different content creators, and you subscribe to the channel, da 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 da, and over time that becomes a distraction. It becomes a distraction because you're not creating anything. You're not focused
Mhm.
in on trying to keep the main thing to keep the main thing the main thing. Now I say there's a time and place. There's a time and place for all of that, but I think we also have to recognize that
Mm.
we are not maximizing what we currently have before we move on to something else. And
Mhm.
I say that in the context of gear acquisition syndrome, or um, trying new things where we haven't even mastered kind of where we are first. I'm not saying that you can't try new things, but I think the tendency is that we want to move the ball so fast and so quickly that we don't give opportunities or something enough to gain roots. And so we don't build a community. We don't build authority before we move on to the next thing, because we are so focused in on the distraction, the comparison culture, trying to get the next latest gear when we haven't even maximized what we have for the first piece. And so trying to have a focus on really what your goal is and your why before you start to do some of this stuff can actually help reduce some of the
Mhm.
distractions. Yeah, I love what Joshua said about, in the morning about checking your bank account. Like, yo, if you're not where you need to be financially, want to be financially, and then man, that should be an impetus enough for you to say, oh, maybe I don't need to do YouTube University today. Maybe I need to shut that computer down and focus in on creating my own content, creating my own lane. So distractions are going to be there. You just actually have to kind of um manage them. I talk a lot about imposter syndrome, and one of the questions that we always get is that, Steve, can you ever get over imposter syndrome? And I'm going to use the same thing to answer, can you ever avoid distractions? We use the same answer, same perspective. There was a movie, and it's called A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe. He plays this mathematician who kind of loses his mind, if you will. He's brilliant, brilliant. I think his name is John Nash, and they want to give him the
Mhm.
Nobel Peace Prize. But over his entire life, he's dealt with schizophrenia. He's dealt with like listening or seeing and hearing three different voices throughout his entire career, but he's still brilliant. And they want to give him a Nobel Peace Prize. And they come to him and they're talking to him and they ask him, hey, so how are you doing? We're thinking about giving you a Nobel Peace Prize. And he said, well, I know what you want to know. You want to know if I still see those voices. And they're in the cafeteria at this university, and he looks over across the cafeteria and he sees the three voices that he's been dealing with his entire life, but they're quiet and they're silenced. And he says, you know what, they're still there, but I choose not to acknowledge them. And I was just, for me, when I heard that and I saw that, that did something to my soul about distractions, about imposter syndrome, about a whole bunch of things in your life. They are going to be there. They are going to try to create space or ask for space, but it's up to you whether or not if you want to give them that space. It's your life, it's your mindset, it's your soul, it's your will. So they are going to be there. It is up to you to silence them and keep them in that corner. That's all I got to say on that. That's all I got to say on that. I yield the floor to the next senator from.
So we have a question here, and it is, what is the best way to leverage influencers for new products, and how can we network into that influencer community? That's a deep question. What is the best way to leverage influencers for new products, and how can we network into that influencer community?
I'm going to answer this real quick in my own perspective. I think you got to serve in their community first. I think the tendency is that when we want an influencer to be on our show, we want to do this or whatever. I believe me, of all people, I understand those goals and those thoughts. But I think one of the first things that we do have to do in their community, and you have to serve not so much out of a desire to have them either on your show or for them to acknowledge you, right? I know that's hard sometimes because we want to serve in order to get a result, or we want other people to notice us to do something. I think when you serve out of just the willingness to, if you like the influence and what they stand for and what the community stand for, then you should do it with kind of an open heart to add value to the community and those around you. And then hopefully over time, that builds up the authority where they notice or they see, or you actually make the connection with that influencer. And you may find out over time that, man, I don't even want that person on my show. I'm getting enough value out of serving the community and dealing with the people. I may not even need them, right? So I just think serving is a lost art, and I know we don't talk about that, and especially in this content creator space, but serving first, I think, adds more value to your soul and to who you are than it does initially to the other people that's actually around you. So that's just my quick thoughts, on that.
I will say that, Steve, that's probably one of the best answers I've heard. But let's talk business for a second, right? So there are three types of influencers. There's micro, macro, and then big influencers. Outside that, you also have brand influencers and lifestyle influencers, right? Know your audience. Know who you want to work with. Do not try to work with a big brand influencer when that's not your market. One. Two, stair step this thing, right? By that I mean start with a macro influencer, then work your way to a micro influencer. That creates loyalty, that creates viability, that creates sustainability. That also creates a name for you, that you are working with people who are at different levels, but who also are true and blue to the industry in which you're in, right? Also, on top of that, do not be offended if people lead with money first. We understand that once you get into the influencing market, that is a cash cow for a lot of different people, right? This is also where influencer imposter syndrome comes in, right? Because we have a lot of people thinking that they're bigger than what they really are, right? So they'll be trying to charge you, trying to have you jump through hoops to be a part of their circle, to be around them, to have them on your show, or for you to even be on their show, right? Do their work. Don't get stuck behind the hype of the person. Look at their numbers. Look at their engagement. Make sure it's someone that you really want to associate your brand with, right? Because if they're not the type of person that you want to be associated with, it doesn't matter if they have 2 billion followers or 20 followers. It's all gonna work to the detriment of the building of your own brand. Brand partnerships are a great way to build who and what you are, but be mindful of who you're building with, because a lot of times people will look good on camera. They may look good on YouTube, but YouTube, for example, is only one social media platform, right? We have Twitter. How many people have been canceled because of things they said in 2014, 2020,
Come on.
2012 that has now come back up again, and that's tarnished deals for them? People have lost millions on millions of dollars because they were so quick to have Twitter thumbs years ago. So be mindful, right? And also do not be afraid to work your way up the ladder. Start out with friends in your industry, right? Get to know them. Work with the macro influencer, then go to a micro influencer. Then once you begin to see yourself grow and you see the return for working with these people, then you begin to approach someone on a larger level. But to Steve's point, if the person isn't someone, well, by the time you get to that, you get to the point where you possibly are a macro or a large influencer, they may not be the person which you thought they are, the person which you want to align your brand with. So just be very mindful.
The only other thing that I would add with what Steve and Joshua said, for me, be a person of integrity. You add what Joshua has said, you add what Steve said, and you add your integrity, and people can see that integrity. And I like the analogy that Joshua said about in terms of what individuals may have done in Twitter in the past. You can have the integrity if you have been one of those individuals that unfortunately said or done some things on Twitter, and now it's becoming a person in the closet that's trying to come out. Have the integrity there to be able to say, okay, these are some mistakes that I've made, but here's how now they've become springboards for me to be a better person, where I can now be a person and adding value to you because of the integrity. And your integrity will attract your product. Your product and your integrity working together will open those doors for you.
Yeah. There's a company I was just reading about, and they are starting. It's almost a it's not really like it's I liken it to a credit bureau for influencers, meaning that they pretty much take all your entire body of work, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and they rate your I guess your credibility for being, kind of who you are before a sponsor will actually approach you from a podcast standpoint or even a live stream standpoint. So you are kind of like in this library, if you will, and you're let's say I'm a sponsor and I want to sponsor Walter. I can go into this library and see what his show's about, but then I could also see almost like his, once again, his kind of influencer rating, meaning that he's consistent across the board. There are no flags, with Walter on YouTube, and he's not on Instagram saying something crazy, and he's not on TikTok, doing any wildness, because I don't want my brand associated with you. You're gonna I guarantee more by the end of this year, you're gonna hear more and more about stuff like this happening with companies wanting to quote unquote um build this credibility, this credit bureau, if you will, for an influencer, because they need to know what all across the board, if you're going to be consistent, because I don't want my brand associated with you if you're going to be acting a fool on one platform or another.
Wow, that was some great, 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 great advice. And so thank you so much. I'm gonna ask you all, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna do something that I've seen done in other platforms.
Okay.
You each get to ask each other questions. You each have a
Oh, I like
very
that.
different
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So we don't need you
perspective
anymore. Okay,
and
cool.
influence.
Yeah. All right, I'm
So
going to ask Joshua a question, man.
you get to ask each
No,
other
no, I don't know.
questions so that
Okay.
our
No, I don't know.
community
That's
can hear what you want to know from each
Mm-hmm.
other. Let's go.
ooh,
All right. All right. So let me jump
Okay.
out here first and
ooh,
ask the first question. Joshua, what are three
yeah.
things that you wish you would have known before you began your journey in working in personal branding?
Great
Sure.
question.
The first thing that I want, so before we get into personal branding, one of the things that I needed to know before I even became a business owner and entrepreneur was that I can. It's great, right? And I say that because people put so much power in the term entrepreneur or business owner, right? But we don't talk about the actual work that comes with that. We want to talk about, the money, the cars. I'm a millennial, so I grew up in that age where technology grew with me. So I've seen people make a lot of money who would go from eating sugar sandwiches on Monday to now they're driving Rolls Royces on Tuesday just because of the industry in which they were in, right? So for me, the first thing was that telling myself that I can. So before I even got into branding, it was I can. Two, understanding that branding is more than what the average person thinks it is. The third thing, matter of fact, let me go back for that for a second. People think of branding as logo, what you say, how you say it, and what's said about you in the room, right? And that's so true. But when you begin to build business off of your brand, right, you have to think about consistency. You have to think about loyalty. You have to think about anything down to the font in which you use to represent your brand. I tell you, this is what I tell you. If you have done a great job or even a good job, right, at identifying your brand and your lane, if I talk on the company's behalf, if Steve talks on the company's behalf, or Walter, right? It should all sound like one band, one sound, one voice. And
I
that's
like
another thing
that.
that a lot of times that we forget, right? And the third thing that I would say about branding is that everyone is not my client, right? I've spent years, and this goes back to my first point, knowing that I can and knowing my worth and my value. I spent years working for clients making little to no money. I spent years working with big name clients. I mean, I have a nice body of work, right? And not realizing how to capitalize on the business side of the relationship. Now, these people are my friends. I can call a whole bunch of people and get tickets, get this, get that, get private jets, whatever. I made friendships. I didn't position myself as a professional for them. So they trust me, right? So if something comes up to this day, if they might need something, they trust me for a referral. They pay me well for those referrals. But the other side is they don't think about me filling that position because I did not present myself well enough in the beginning to solidify myself in that business area. To them, I'm just Josh that knows branding, and that speaks different to them saying, this is Joshua Uwell, the owner of Posture Enterprise, LLC. So those would be my 1, 2, and my 3.
Great.
Good.
All right, so I'm gonna go. Steve, what's your why?
Oh. Ooh, man. Yeah, dude, that's I love no, dude, that's and my answer is it's always the same. I love to see people get it. Like, I know that's not super specific, but when the companies that we work that I'd have, we're very specific in what that means. But for me, it is seeing the light bulb moment when the person learns something, they be like, you ever see it, like, you're talking to somebody and you hit on something and they like sit back in the chair, they're like, like, it's like that, like they didn't think about it in that vein before. They didn't think about it, the impact before. They didn't think about the result in that way before, to help people get it, whatever that getting is, right? Bible says, in all you're getting, get understanding, right? But I love to help people get whatever it is that they want to get. And I am very very fortunate. If there's one thing I know, it's people, and God has really equipped me to know people. I can adapt and connect and work with people very, very quickly, very, very quickly, and I feel very blessed to be able to have that ability to do that, and I utilize that. I used to utilize it for when I was younger for evil, as like it's like a superpower, right? Because when you know people, you can manipulate a situation very quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what they want, you know how to ask, da 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 da. But when you get older, you start to utilize that power for good, and that good is to help people get it, whatever that getting is. Great question, man.
Mm-hmm. Great
Love it.
question.
Love it.
Great question. All right,
All
Joshua,
right.
man.
So Walter,
This is a selfish question. Oh, sorry,
okay.
man. This is a selfish
Okay.
question. I don't care. It's selfish. I'm sorry, community. Man, you've written so many books, dude. How did you get past that hump? You know, I am I am in a hump right now. And it's a big hump, and I got to get over that one. And I am trying my best, which I think that's my issue, but I'm trying my best to get past this hump. And I need some advice. I need some perspective on how you've been able to kind of get past the myriad of humps that you've dealt with when writing all of your books.
Yeah. Great question. For me, it was kind of simple. One, there was a passion behind what I was doing, and not anyone who knows me know I am a church boy by heart, right? So I'm not going to go too churchy on you, but when God gives you something, right, you can't let
Mm,
that thing go until you see it through to completion, right? And sometimes we focus on the hump. The hump just means that you just need more time on your face, right? You need more time with Him to figure out what that next step and stage really looks like
Mm,
and what it should be,
great point.
right?
Great point.
It has nothing to do about what you know, because if God gave it to you, He knew that you could do it, and He would see you through it. We're not worried about that. There's more in you. So focus on the more that God has for you, and don't focus on the hump, because the hump is just because He's trying to get you that there's something deeper that you have to deliver to the people. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
See, that was my moment. I just sat back in the chair, like that was me getting it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because as soon as you said that, as soon as you said get on your face, it was just like,
Yeah.
and man, dude, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm trying my best not to get emotional because that just hit a chord. Seriously, that just hit a chord, man. And I appreciate that. All right,
Anytime.
cut the camera off. Take the camera off me before I start crying.
All right, pull the plugs. All right. So,
Cut the
Yes,
camera.
sir. Yes, sir.
So I'm gonna switch the question a little bit for you. What
Okay.
can we do, right? What can myself, what can Steve, Florence, James, Shar, the Live Tribe, your community, the huddle, what can we do to support you to help you get to that next level?
Man, great question. Great
Mm,
question.
mm,
Um, share, share, share information about the channel. Sharing, letting people know about what the channel is about. And if you feel I haven't did a significant job in being able to communicate what my channel is about and who I am as a content creator, we need to have a conversation. But if I have did everything that it is, just the same way when you have a great meal of barbecue chicken, macaroni, greens, and whatever your side dish is,
Mm-hmm.
share it. Share it. And not just share it with everybody, because I realize not everyone is my audience. But if you know the same way you enjoy the content and you know someone will benefit from it, share it. Share it. And that will
mm,
definitely put me in the position that once people start to come, I then have to produce. And then finally
mm,
be willing to hold me accountable. Be willing,
mm,
you the simple fact
mm,
that you asked that question,
mm,
to me, that
mm,
question is much
mm,
more powerful
mm,
than what is your why? Because it makes me kind of look at in terms of looking within. But then when you say how can we, then now I feel comfortable enough to say you're a person that I'm willing to hold me accountable to get
yeah.
to get the channel where it needs to. So yeah, share it. Share with that same person that you know how you enjoyed the content.
Yeah.
Good.
I hope I answered that question. And for the audience, if you're getting great value, because I don't hear a lot of likes and shares, me being YouTube, I want y'all to click that thumbs up, the like button. I want y'all to share this for Florence, because this is a great discussion. It's not about the latest gear. It's not about the latest tech. It's not about subscribing, but these are the behind the scenes that's going to help you be the content creator you need to be.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Awesome. And another reason why we have to share, I'm going to also piggyback on what Walter said, is because what you have on screen right now rarely happens, where you get to speak and talk to Black men who are successful in their industry, giving out insight and advice for free, right? I've been in rooms just like this time after time after time after time, and I paid a pretty premium to be in that space. So so if you're part of the live tribe, if you're on the replay line, whoever you are, if you are part of the Steve Worthy tribe, the Walter Strong tribe, the Purposeful Productivity tribe, whoever you are, I ask you to do me a favor. Take this video, take that link. After you like and share with your network, I want you to email this video out to 5 men, right? I love my sisters, I love y'all, but this is for the men. Black, brown, green, or red. Men. If you are a man and you know a man that needs a little bit of encouragement to level up, right? Needs a little bit of insight to take his business to the next level. Needs someone to hold him accountable, or someone just to say, hey, I see you, bro. I'm going through the same. You have 3 men on this screen and you have a whole bunch more in the chat, right? We're all here live. So send this out. Show your male friends that you care by sharing us with them.
There he is. There it is.
So AK says brown men. I
Yes,
got you, AK.
and our brown
Yeah.
brothers
There
too.
you go.
Yes.
And
There you
Brian.
go.
And Brian.
Woo!
Yes.
And
And
Brian.
oh my goodness, Josh, you about to look who's
Okay,
here,
so wait.
Josh.
Look,
Look who
I
here.
got the computer down.
Look
So let
who
me say
here.
the red, the green, the light skin, the dark skin, the brown, the caramel, the
You see who
caramel, the
just
paper bag brown.
just popped
Listen,
in?
Paper bag.
if you are
He
a
said
man,
paper bag brown.
if you know a man, share us with
Yeah,
those
there
men,
we go.
right? Share us with the fellas.
I do
Paper
have a
bag
question
brown.
for the host, though. I have a question for the host.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Because there could be someone
Yeah.
in the chat that has the same vision. Maybe it's not 3 men. Maybe it's 3 women. Maybe it's a conversation about marriage.
Yeah.
Whatever the topic is, there's someone who wants to put something like this together, whether on YouTube, Facebook, wherever the platform, even in person, and they're struggling with this one issue. How did you muster up the courage to be able to put all this together and be able to release this?
Whew. How
Take
did
your
I
time.
muster up the courage to put it together? It came because I got to know and I listened and I was personally learning so much from each of you. For weeks, for months, long before you all ever saw me put anything in chat, I was in your live stream. I was taking notes. So my first hurdle, the first courage, was to get the courage to even put a note in chat in your live stream. Because each of you, well, 3 of you, James Hicks, Steve Worthy, Walter Strong, I had been watching you for months and you never knew I was there.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
would see something, I would hear something, I would hear you answer a question, I'd write it down. And then, Mr. Strong, I think I started with you. And you see, I'm reverting back. I started with you first, and I remember the first time I put a comment in your live stream. it was your birthday and you said your family was going to celebrate your birthday.
Mhm. Mhm.
And all I wanted to do was acknowledge your birthday and that your family was celebrating you.
Mhm.
I didn't
Yeah.
want anything. I just wanted to acknowledge you because I had gained so much already. And you didn't even know I existed.
Mhm. That's great.
And it
That's
was the
great.
same with Steve Worthy, and it was the same with James Hicks. They didn't
Mm.
know I was watching, they had no clue, and listening and studying and taking notes. No clue whatsoever. By the time I commented, I had been studying for a minute. So there's
Yeah.
someone out there like me. I'm not that weird, who's
Mhm.
watching and studying, who will one day put a comment in. And then when you welcomed me and then kind of push me out here,
Yeah. Mhm.
it forced me to get better. And as
Mhm.
I was
Mm.
thinking about what do I want to share with people? How can I serve people? And this is what became true. I cannot do it by myself.
Yeah.
There's more that I don't know than what I do know. But there are others
Mm.
who know more than me. And the people
Mhm.
who I want to serve need and deserve to hear from the people that I'm learning from.
Hmm.
So I didn't say
Yeah.
Joshua watching him, but I've watched and learned from my brother for years.
Yeah.
And I ask him all kind of I'm a spill the beans. He's like, you are such an airhead. People think you smart. You are ditzy as ditzy can be.
It's the intellectual ditziness that I love about her. But
And I can be real ditzy. Let me just tell you.
Mhm.
So I've watched and I've learned from him and putting events together. He
Mm.
is so talented. I just simply took what he and I have done in other venues, putting big seminars and summits together in
Mhm.
rooms with
Hmm.
people, and I'm applying those same principles in the digital space
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
because we put sizable, sizable multi-day summits and workshops on together, planned them, executed them, feeding breakfast people 3 meals through the whole event. So just taking those same principles and applying
Mhm.
them here. The piece that
Mm.
I'm learning from you all is how to be on camera, how to do scenes, how to, make sure people are relatively, all the nitty gritty things that I still say I'm learning. But that's how I got
Mhm.
the courage, was just watching and listening. And then I was just like, the word still say is no. So just ask.
Mhm. Mhm.
If they
Hmm.
say
Hmm.
no,
Yeah.
okay, move on.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did the same thing in when I was starting like the live stream piece. I was in the eCam community for about, I think, 7 months before I started really like thinking about utilizing it. Um, StreamYard. I mean, I was studying, everybody, um, what they were doing, because I was like, this, I got to add this to my repertoire, and it's so there's nothing, and so whoever's listening, whoever's out there, study. What Florence is just talking about is like this. She studied. You know, she studied, then she connected. Right. I think that's the when I
Mhm.
think it's Abdul that was talking, or a tool that was talking about the influencer piece. Right. You know what I mean? When she showed up in the chat, for me, she was serving. She was asking the question, saying hi. You know, keeping the conversation going. I was like, okay, cool, man. Because when you're out here, live streaming or doing whatever, we want that connection. We want people out there in the community to ask questions, to be lively. And so, you were immediately noticed, on my live streams, just for the impact, with questions and engagement. So I think you're just a testament to just, I think, your audience, in and of itself as well too. So you'll make sure you get your flowers right now. I know you say you're still learning and all of that, but you're crushing it where you stand. So
Mhm. Mhm.
Thank you. So I get to ask two questions. First question is to the audience. If you have your last question, this is last call, like at the bar. This is last call for your question. Last
you gotta start flickering the
call
lights.
for your question. We're going to start flickering lights
That's how
on you.
old I am.
You can get that drink down in you. Last call. If you have a question for three of the four horsemen, ask it now so we can get them to answer. Ask it now. This has been such a great learn. Oh my goodness, it has been such a great learn.
Mhm.
Fantastic takeaway. Great wrap up to Power Planning Month, because this is true power with these gentlemen. So here's my last question, and it's going to be a little bit of a piggyback off of something that Joshua said. The
Okay.
question that Joshua asked Walter. So prepare your mind. As a woman who's out here building this community and connecting with you all, what can I do to help further your message and support you? It's just that simple. I said that in February, one of the things I said for each of you is we all stand on somebody's shoulders. And I just
Mm, mm,
expressed that for me, doing what I'm doing now, I am standing on all four of you all's shoulders, who definitely you're more than strong enough to handle. But now I need to sow back. My number one gift, my number one spiritual gift is giving. It far exceeds
mm.
every other spiritual gift that I have. And Joshua can
Mhm.
tell you because he's been there when I've done every version of a spiritual gift, and it always comes out as number one. So, what can I do to continue to spread what you're doing and your message and to support you for what you're doing? Who wants to go first?
Mhm. You know, I just enjoy this. You know, um, I think, was it Frank said, when it's part two. I think that's probably part of it, right? Um, maybe there's a part two to this, because here's the thing. It's not, I don't know if it's just about supporting me. I think it's about supporting kind of the what this stands for, if you will, which is just, black men sharing and connecting and providing value. Um, I think, this type of forum, if you will, um, it does a lot for me. Just connecting and listening to the answers, and Joshua almost making me cry. Um, it does a lot for me. And so I think, um, eh, just doing stuff like this, here's the thing: the more I can grow, and the more opportunities I get to grow, the more I can grow as a person, and the more my channel and businesses and all of that stuff grows. So I think, instead of, from a promotional standpoint, I am seeking to further my education, further my knowledge. And so situations like this, are rare, and they help me, kind of grow my toolbox. So if there's probably one thing that you can do is part two, of this, or something along those lines. I don't know if I'm making sense or not, but I think helping me grow and learn is probably one of the best things that anybody can do for me, and that's what has occurred tonight.
I would definitely agree with Steve, and with Frank in the comments. Being able to have a part two from a standpoint that now that you've kind of laid the foundation, um, having a part two in being able, and if right now, if it's for a season to encourage Black men, um, you know, being able to devote more time, because I saw your email where you were kind of adding for some feedback, and I trust you and your team
Yeah,
because I was on
agreed.
the show before, and so I was like, they got this. I'm already busy doing some. They got this. They got this. And I just gave you a quick comment, but when you get ready to do part two, and I don't necessarily got to be on camera, but being behind the scenes so that however part two unfolds, it brings not just makes tears come out of Steve's eyes, but it causes people in the chat say, "Oh, there's got to be more of this, and I got to keep tuning in to this series she's doing because we as just Black creators, we don't know enough about Black creators. Like I know about JP High Tech, I know about James Hicks, I know about Steve. This is the first time online meeting with Joshua. Got a great time of listening to his online interview, but there are other Black creators that need to be exposed and brought to the forefront in a good sense to say you're not out here by yourself. And
Yeah.
taking a quote from Joshua, there is a little boy on the inside of you that you're wrestling with, and with imposter syndrome. There's a little boy inside of you that keeps you beating yourself up about, are you good enough? And you need to be around a platform of other, and this is no disrespect to any other races right now. This is the moment. This is what's going on right now. It will eventually transition to other ethnicities and races and cultures, but for now this is the moment. So having the part two, having the part three, and the four, until you hear God saying in your spirit, it's
Yeah.
finished.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, what do you say after that? Frank's talking about part two. I'm. I mean, I guess we have to do it, right? Continue to do exactly what you've been doing, and that is being the bridge. And I'm going to speak to women for right now. Women are the bridge in many situations, right? They're the one
Yeah.
that guides the men from point A to point B, from the left to the right. Continue being the bridge that you've been, not just for me. I'm lucky to have you in my personal life, but to Walter and to Steve and to James and to Frank and to everyone else that God has called you to be in connection with. Continue being that bridge because someone has to bring us together, right? The statistics are that in the last 2 years, that were more millionaires made than any other time. Most of those millionaires that were created were African American women. The number or the percentage of Black men who are entrepreneurs is on the decline. Unfortunately, the rate of black black male suicide is higher than the rate of Black male entrepreneurs. We don't know who we saved by having this conversation, right? I'll even go as far as this. I was on social media probably a few weeks ago, and Florence knows the story. There was a young lady, and she pleaded out for us to help for men to speak to her son because he had been bullied over the last several weeks. He had locks, and he was kind of like a grungy guy, like all black, with the mascara and the spikes and all that stuff, right? And
Mhm.
he wanted to unalive himself, and it was because no one understood who he was as a black man with locks, and then also a black man who had locks, who was into grunge. Then also a black man who was into grunge, who had locks, who painted his nails. So this is what I did. I painted my fingernails. There's only, well, one and a half left because I only did two. But I did that because I wanted him to see. So I sent her a private video. I sent the video to her, and the response that I got back was, "Thank you, because very few people wanted to see my son win." She had probably about 20 or so videos of different black men who had sent her videos, and I've been able to collaborate with a few of those since then and reach out to some. But we did a video for a man that we did not know because there was a life that we were trying to help save. I say all that to say this. You don't know who life you saved tonight, Florence, being the bridge that brought Steve, myself, even James to the comments all together, right? We don't know who's going to see this in this very moment, who's on the live, or who's going to tune in later. Either this video was shared with them, or they're just stumble upon it on Facebook, YouTube, Insta, wherever the video may land, right? We don't know. But what we do know is that we're doing something with purpose. This channel is not called Purposeful Productivity for nothing. It's called that because even in the productivity, right, there's purpose. But in the grander scheme of things, you were purposed to be the bridge to create spaces like this, right? You've already created the space and named us. They were the Four Horsemen. So I don't know about you, but I'm saying by 2024, there's going to be a Four Horsemen's Wealth Conference. I don't know where, how, or when, but I'm just saying in 2024, we're going to do it, right? Because we
Right.
had
Right.
someone step into the gap and be the bridge for us, right? She made sure that, again, what you all don't know, this is going to be my last statement. What you all don't know is that every time that she went looking at Steve and went looking at James and Walter, I got a text message or we had a phone call about it, right? I would get tired of hearing y'all names. I didn't know who you all were. I just knew that something about what you all were doing, it intrigued her, right? And one thing about my sister is that very few things, she's huge on learning, right? But there are very few people that she will ever say that she could see herself being mentored by, right? For her to say that about the three of you all, for her to speak so highly of you all, it cost me nothing to be a part of this stage, but it gave me everything, right? The work that we do on the back end to make sure that the brand continues to flow, the reason why it happens is because she puts people in connection like this. We help her serve. Frank and I help her serve, and she serves you all that serves the masses, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And when that thing comes back for us all, right? When it comes back, it's going to do something that we hadn't expected. So continue being the bridge, right? If someone that we need to know, we got to do a part 3, a part 4, a part 5. I'm pretty sure we'll all commit to that, right? Because one, we're scared of you, and two, we see something bigger happen.
You are not scared of me.
I know, right? And two, we see something bigger, that we see what you're doing, and where God may have given you sight, He's giving us direction and intention. So all we're doing is just following the lead. So if there's a 2 or 3 or 4, we're here.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so I put last call out for a question. So we got a last call question. It says, I always struggle as far as making my own content to get myself out there. What few real life things, put it back, should I do to get out there? This is from Ty Thomas. I always struggle as far as making my own content to get out there myself. What few real life things should I do to get out there? Who wants to tackle
Walt
this
got
one?
this one.
And I'm just going to say Josh has an unfair advantage because we know Ty.
Oh, you know that. Okay.
Yeah, we know him, and I'm going to spill it just to help y'all a little bit. He is, when I tell you, he is a serious fantastic digital creator,
Mm-hmm.
videos, graphics next to Josh. He's my next person I go to.
Okay.
Um, just putting stuff together, like, and he's like, I don't know how they do it, but they do it. And they've collaborated together on
Okay.
websites and all kind of stuff.
Yo,
So
okay, so I would go.
there
I'm
you go.
gonna go first because Tyrell is my brother. Like when I say my brother from another mother, that's
Okay.
another man that has my heart. So bro,
Mm-hmm.
I love you. What I would love to see you do, honestly, is as amazing as you are with the background of creating websites and creating designs and the way that your brain works, right? No one ever does a BTS behind the scenes. You have a whole studio in
Yeah.
your basement, right? You do photo shoots, you do graphics, you do websites. Focus on the behind the scenes, right? People want
Mm-hmm.
to know how these things happen. What happens most times when people are creating content, they're easily overwhelmed because they see what looks amazing on camera, but don't realize
Mm-hmm.
it was two shoestrings and a piece of tape that held it all together. The person just knew what to do. And when it comes to that, you're gifted in that. I've seen you have the best equipment, and I've seen you have a computer that was like a putt-putt golf machine. It was the worst, right? But you were able to do something amazing every single time you were
Mm.
called to create something. So that behind the scenes thing, from your photo shoots, from your graphics, from all of that, I think that will be a great way of you creating content. And then add Ileana to the mix. You have an amazing little daughter that's always attached to your hip, right?
Mm-hmm.
Show that relationship. Show how you're teaching her what you do and
Mm.
how you
Mm.
do it. We don't have enough
Mm.
examples of positive black men spending time with their children, but not even their daughters. So here you are, you have two amazing children that you can spend time with and you can show them and show aspects of what you do with them, right? That's your content. People love that. People love
Mm.
to see fathers, right? People love to see designs made easy.
Yeah.
There you go. I would say, sir,
Right.
when I first got into learning how to create a website, I learned how to create a website from a person named James Stafford, Websites Made Easy. And I spent maybe 2 to 3 hours. I'm not going to say every day, but maybe 3 days out of the week wanting to build this WordPress website, just as he did in the video. But I never saw his face.
Mm.
And so now having the backdrop of understanding the type of work and services you do, whether if it's behind the scenes or as a
Mm.
tutorial, teaching someone from beginning of how to, showing the end result, showing what web hosting is about, showing what the importance of having a domain, and then walking a person through step by step on just taking websites for a minute, but you're not on camera not one time. That's a starting point. And because, you know, I remember that in the individual's name, that's how much of an impact that he had on me. And I was just speaking about the individual to my wife because she's interested in trying to get a website or debating should she go to Linktree or she get a landing page. And the first name that came to me was a person who I've never seen. There's a
Mm.
picture of him
Mm.
up show, a
Mm.
picture, but I don't even know if that's really him.
Mhm.
And so if you are a person who does not want to embrace being on camera, though I'm an individual who's going to push you to have confidence in being on camera, if that's where you got to start, you start. We can deal with you having confidence on camera later.
Yeah, man. I listen to me. I don't got. I have like nothing to add. I mean, I think Joshua talked about it a lot too about the behind the scenes and the only phrase that I was going to share with was is be the content, right? Um, so that like behind the scenes piece, like Josh was talking about, just capturing those moments, right? Just having everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people have and another phone that's kind of lying around, being able to um and I don't have it set up now, but what I typically do is that whenever I do an interview, I have like just another little camera over here that's set up, and I'm just capturing this angle, but I'm also capturing this angle and utilizing the this for reels or whatever it may be. I'm just being the content. I'm just whatever it is that I'm saying. So just taking the opportunity to kind of capture, those moments of you doing something. And then over time, hopefully they start to come and they start to become something else. But I think, Joshua hit the nail on the head, man. People want to see, you know, what's that saying? They want to see how the sausage is made, if you will,
Mhm.
right? So be the content, man. That's all I got.
Let me add one more thing, and I'm not trying to take us to church, but the late Dr. Miles Monroe made a statement. The most wealthiest
Mhm.
rich place in the world is not Fort Knox. It's not your local bank. The wealthiest, richest place, two of the most wealthy and richest places are unfortunately our jails and our prisons and the cemetery. There are ideas and dreams. There are songs that
Mhm.
were never sung. There was content that should have been put to video that was never made put to video because it was
Mhm.
taken to the grave. You've heard this experience, this live stream tonight, and you have content. You have a whole lot of it on the inside of you. Don't take it to
Yeah.
the grave. And I pray that you don't get caught up in a situation as a black man driving home at night and you have sirens coming behind you and you end up having a situation where now you're on CNN. Don't take your content to the grave, and certainly don't allow the enemy to have place where he ends up having you incarcerated for something you didn't do. And you didn't take advantage of what you have God has given you.
Mm.
Wow. Y'all not gonna make me cry. Y'all gonna make me cry. So, uh, y- we have gone much longer than we've ever gone. So this tells you the value of what was generated tonight. Tremendous. I did give the community whatever your win of the week is. Please drop it in chat. I'm going to share mine, and then I'm going to ask my guest to share theirs for this week. Because why do
Mm.
I ask for a win, productivity win of the week every week? Because we are good at beating ourselves up. We're good at telling ourselves all the things we did not do right, what we shoulda, coulda done. We're not good at acknowledging what we've done well. And we have to learn as a human race, as humans, to celebrate ourselves. That's the reason I ask, not because I'm trying to be nosy. So if you want to share,
Yeah.
please put it in the comments. For me, my win has been moving this channel and what we're doing forward, putting together
Mm.
this event for tonight and having these, and I'm going to say 4 horsemen, say yes and trusting me enough, trusting me, little old me, who's still learning, to be willing to put themselves, to attach themselves to what I'm doing here. That is my
Mm.
productivity win of this week. The technology, the applications, we'll get into all of that. But that's really been my win for this week. And I will ask Mr. Worthy, do you have one you'd like to share?
Ooh, yeah. There's quite a few, which is a blessing, and I'll kind of piggyback off of something that you were talking about earlier, around you don't know who's watching, right? You were in the community, our communities for a while, before you said anything and things like that, and we've been producing the Retail Leadership with Steve Worthy podcast pretty consistently, and it's been the last 8 months we've seen the growth of that podcast, like literally triple. And it's just been amazing to be able to see um sort of the fruits of sticking to that, and allowing that podcast to actually have roots. So much so that you know, had a kind of a big company reach out and uh said, dude, we've been listening to your podcast, for like the last 4 months, and how can we work together? And um it was just like, you never know who's listening. You never know who's listening. So the productivity win is being consistent with your lane and understanding your lane, and um you just never know who's listening and what the opportunities that could possibly kind of come from that. I didn't do retail leadership with Steve Worthy in pursuit of this opportunity or any other ones that may come. I just do it because I'm passionate about it, and I love to talk about it. And it was just a massive win, for me this week. So there you have it.
All right, Mr. Strong.
Win of the week. Keeping things in line with, I guess, from a productivity theme aspect. When I first got introduced to the concept of win of the week, it was by a content creator named Ken the Content Coach, who has a YouTube channel, who's now kind of creating some content for some other things. But that was the first time I got introduced to win of the week, and I just began to adopt and share it myself, and just to see now how it's kind of spreading. But with my employer, I introduced it to them, and now that our whole team is using it, it's kind of now been
Outstanding.
titled on Friday's Walter's Win of the Week, when they said we're branding it to Walter's Win of the Week. It helped me to understand that when you get an idea, you don't necessarily have to originate it, but when you get an idea and it impacts you that way, and you start to share it with others, you will be like that little pebble or that rock that skipped against the water, and it just caused
Mm,
ripples. And
yeah,
so to have Florence sharing it, and
it's
me
awesome.
sharing it with companies, and now I'm waiting to hear them say they're going to end up adopting it through the whole company. Just because that one content creator threw that little pebble or rock and caused a ripple.
Mm,
To me, that's the true definition of a win of the week. So don't get caught up in all the big things. Say, I didn't accomplish this big thing, or I didn't do all this
yeah,
grandeur. It's not big or grandeur.
yeah.
Just one win of the week, and build upon it. And then if you say, well, I don't have one, you have one, because you're making progress. You're not stuck. So that's my win of the week.
That's, that's dope, Walt. That's dope. Congrats on that, man.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
Yeah,
you.
man.
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So mine is going to be very simple, which is a little different from these two gentlemen. I've been on
No,
camera
you had it
twice in
right
the
the
last
first
month.
time. You're gonna say young men. You were gonna say young
Mhm.
men. No, you had it right the first time. Go ahead,
All
man.
right,
I caught
all
you.
right.
I caught you. I
So
caught it.
these two young men, right? These two millennials adjacent. Um, my win is very simple. I was on camera twice this month, or in a month, right? So we did the
Mm.
first session on March 17th, and then we're back today. Florence knows I built my career being in the background. I built my career helping people excel. I built my career um, helping helping some of your favorite celebrities be who they are to you, right? So I rarely get a chance to be on screen, be on camera, be interviewed from the perspective of a brand person. So for me, being here is definitely my win. Also, um, re-engaging old software. So
Mm,
I've been a Mac man since the last probably 20, 17, 15 some years.
Mhm.
And with that, there's a lot of apps that I no longer have to use because of Apple just doesn't use them. My clients don't use them, right? I think I had a client this past month asked me to do some old school work, right? I mean, going back as far as using PowerPoint. Now, I haven't used PowerPoint since I think I was in college.
Mm.
So to be able to go back and relearn the software, right? When you think about unlearn, was it learn, unlearn, relearn? That was what I had to do this week because
Mhm.
I pride myself as being an Apple person. I pride myself as thinking that I'm tech savvy. Hey
Mhm.
y'all, PowerPoint almost got me. I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh man,
PowerPoint,
no,
PowerPoint
you
almost
ain't
took me
wrong.
out, man.
You ain't wrong.
Listen, listen. I thought I knew better, right? I'm like, man, I work on Apples. I have computers that I play on every single day. I help build this infrastructure. I've done this. PowerPoint almost took the boy out.
Yeah, you ain't wrong on
Right
that,
now.
man. I I start messing with it again like the other week,
Mm-hmm.
and years ago I was super fluent like in PowerPoint,
Yeah.
man. Like that was like my second like nature. Man, I kind of got
Mm-hmm.
back into it like probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
man, why is it so hard? Like I'm like I can't get this to work. I couldn't get that to work. So yeah, man, you ain't wrong, man. You ain't wrong.
Mhm.
Wow. So we have done wonderful yeoman's work
Mhm.
tonight. I will ask Mr. Hicks to give y'all a rating, see how you did without him. But what I'm
Man.
going to ask you to now, if I can put you in the green room, I'm going to close us out. Just tell people how to connect with me, just for the community.
Mhm.
Links
Mhm.
to all of their websites and how to connect with them have been getting
Mhm.
dropped in chat this evening. Uh, by tomorrow, if not later this evening, links to all of their sites and channels will be in the description of this video. And I'm going to do it while they're on camera. Do not, do not, do not sleep on their willingness to support you.
That's right.
They are here. They make themselves available. Reach out to them. You need coaching on leadership, being an executive, podcasting. Steve Worthy is your man, and so much more. You need coaching on online video, content creation, how to show up on camera and be ready, and so much more. If you need a mentor, Walter Strong is your man.
Mhm.
If you need a designer, a graphics person, a branding person, and I'm going to put two people in here, even though the other person is not on camera, because I'm going to throw them in here anyway.
Mhm.
You can't do better, in my opinion, my humble little opinion, than connect with Joshua Ewell and Cher Jones. Those two, different, but you won't get better. So connect with them and don't just hear it, use it for your good. So thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to say thank you now. If you can just give me a second in the green room, and we'll be ready to go
Yeah.
home.
All right.
All
Okay.
right.
Thank
Gotcha.
you.
Go for it.
So, ooh, that's weird. There's how you connect with me, FlorenceDonald.live. There are resources there that you can connect with me on, and I would love to walk with you on your productivity journey. It's a journey. It is not a destination. So definitely take advantage if it's something you want to do and allow me to support you. And if you are listening on the replay, subscribe, like, and share, especially this video. It was so much power. It was so much power. So share with others so that they get the information that was shared from these gentlemen tonight. And last but not least is next week we're going to have two powerful women talking about how to be productive on the home front. You don't want to miss it. So we're going to go from the men, we're going to hop into the home with two very powerful women sharing with you. So with that, I'm going to say good night, everybody, and we will see you back here next Friday at 6:30 p.m.